Welcome back to Autodesk Maya. In this tutorial, we're going to start the series of superhero prop project. In this tutorial, we're going to cover how to create a Captain America shield. So in future tutorials, we'll maybe do like a Thor hammer and other type of superhero props. But this one, we're going to deal with the Captain America shield. First thing you have to think about is what of these polygon primitives do you want to utilize for the shield. And if we look here at some images of Captain America's shield, you can see here it's very round. It has these concentric circles and it has a star in the center here. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4 of these circles. And if we look at the back, you can see here some divots, some straps, and so forth. We'll try and get some of these details in this project. And in the third photo here, we just have a package like a product, like a toy here, where you can see if we rendered out different angles of the shield, we could do something like this in 3D. So that's the whole idea here. We're going to basically do that. So for rounded forms, for rounded forms, the sphere is a great object to deal with as a polygon primitive. So I'm going to click on that. And you can go to the Create menu, go down to Polygon Primitives, and choose Sphere. I have Interactive Creation unchecked, which allows it to just drop in this stage here. And with it selected, I'm going to go to the channel box here on the right. So all these little widgets here, if you click on the top right one, you get the channel box. And what you want to do is scroll down to the Polysphere input, click on that. And then what we want to do is change the divisions here. So instead of 20, we're going to highlight both of those and type in 12 and then hit enter. And basically this will give us a lower polygon preview for more like a game model type of object. So that's what we're looking for. Because if we use the smooth mesh preview number 3, you'll see how it's rounded here. So you can go into that by hitting number 3 or number 1 to go back to regular polygon mode. So I'm going to tap spacebar and go into my ortho views in order to delete the bottom half of this object. So I just tap spacebar and then move my cursor to a new view of these orthographic views and tap spacebar to maximize that view. Be wary, don't hold down spacebar. Holding down will basically show the hotkeys in Maya. So again, it's just tap spacebar, move your cursor, tap spacebar to move into that view. So I want the front view here. And what I'm going to do is right click on the object here that's selected and hold the mouse down, and I get the component mode, which is vertex, edges, and faces. I'm going to select faces here, and I'm going to draw a marquee selection over these faces to delete them. Now if you select too many, you can click out like I did there. What you want to do is basically draw a selection over the bottom half and then hit the delete key. And then I'm going to tap spacebar to the top view here. And what I'm going to do now is right click and go to object mode. And then I'm going to hit the R key, which is the scale tool. Your scale tool is right here. We're going to use the move tool, which is W, which is right here. But scale tool, I'm going to grab from the top cube and kind of squish it down a little bit so it's more rounded like the basically like the cap shield. So at this point I can now start to scale out these edges and kind of match them up with the 4 circles. So I'm going to do that just by right click, go to edge mode, and then all I have to do is double click on these edges and I basically get the whole edge loop. And I'm going to basically scale this out a little bit so that we have that center star a little bit bigger. And then as you notice, if I angle it up a little bit, you can see how it's sticking up a little bit too much. So I'm just going to drag it down using the move tool. So those are the 2 tools I'm basically going to utilize a lot. I'm going to double click on that one, switch to my scale tool. I'm going to grab the center one to scale in a little bit so it gets a little bit tighter, and then kind of just bring it up or down. We want it to sort of roll off in a sort of like a nice curve here. Now I am going to have a little valley between these 2 major circles. So on this next one, what I'm going to do is double click on this one and then scale it in quite a bit so that I can bring it in, and then hit W to move it up. And it's a little bit too close probably. Actually, maybe not. I kind of like it a little bit closer, so maybe I'll scale this one in a little bit closer too. It's a little bit tighter, and then again, all you gotta do is nudge a little bit up or down with the move tool to sort of have a nice smooth valley there. That looks pretty good overall. The last edge loop here, we're gonna double click. We're gonna move it up a little bit so it's angled like that. That looks pretty good. and I think about the same distance is fine. Double click on this one, and I'm going to scale it out a little bit, like so. Maybe just a little bit further to about there, because we want 3 of these. We know I'm pretty close to equal distance. Now we need to add 2 edge loops so we get this little valley trim like we have in these. You can do that by using the edge loop tool, which is here in my custom shelf. But if you go to the mesh tools here, here's the insert edge loop tool, and I just click on my little widget there. And the way it works, just click on one of these lines here and hold the mouse down and drag into where you want it to be, and then release basically. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add one there, and I'm going to add one there essentially. To escape out, I'm going to click on the top arrow, and then I'm going to right click, go to face mode again, and I'm going to click on one of these faces of these little inner areas, and then I'm going to hold the shift key and on the second one right next to it, and then double click, and that will select the whole edge loop. So again, click on one, and I'm holding the shift key with this whole time, so I'm double clicking, and then click on this one, and then double click here. Now if you accidentally click on an extra face, you can hold the shift key and click again, and that will deselect that face. So now I have these 3 circle loops, edge loops selected. I don't have the outside one. I don't want that one. But I want to essentially bring these in. If we look at the model here real quick, there are these little edges on each of these circles, so we want to do that in Maya. So I'm going to use what's called the Extrude tool here, which is this guy right here in my widgets. It is under the Edit Mesh tool, I believe. Yep, there it is, the Extrude. And so I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to always grab the blue arrow, which is the normal direction, to do this. So I'm going to drag down just a smidgen. If we zoom in here, you can see what's happening. It creates an edge and a little insert here. I'm just going to go just a tiny bit. Then I'm going to hit the G key. G key repeats any last action you did, which is essentially adding another extrusion. So I'm going to drag it in just a little bit more to about there. And then at this point, I can right click, go to object mode, and select the whole object, and then hit number 3. And let's take a look. So now we got those little inserts there. That looks pretty good. The only thing we're missing here is we're missing some thickness to the shield. So what I'm going to do is hit number 1 to go back to preview mode of the polygons. And then I'm going to right click and go to face mode and select all the faces on this just by dragging a big selection over everything. And then just make sure everything's selected just by rotating around my view here. And then I'm going to click on the Extrude tool again. Again, that's under the Mesh tool here. And Edit Mesh, and there it is, the Extrude. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm always going to grab that blue arrow. So if you accidentally click out like this, just undo by hitting Control Z or Command Z until you get that blue arrow, or before you do the extrude and then redo it. Otherwise, you get triple extrusions. And then what we want to do is grab the blue arrow and drag it out a little bit so we get a little bit of thickness. And you can rotate to the bottom view like this to see how much of that thickness you need, but just a little bit. You don't need to go too crazy. Something like that looks pretty good. And then if you look at the edge here, there's no edge loop. So if we right click, go to object mode and select this and hit number 3, you'll see how rounded that edge gets. So let's hit number 1 here. If we add an edge loop in here, it'll actually add some depth to it. So let me grab this edge loop tool here, and I'm going to click right in here and drag up, and then click in here and drag down like so. So all I did was right in there, and then I'm going to click on that arrow to escape out, and then right click, go to object mode, and then click on it, and then hit number 3 again. Now you can see we have a better edge as it goes all the way around here. So this is a really good start. I'm feeling very confident, very happy about this Captain America shield. So in the next tutorial, we'll explore how to create the star, and then we'll start working on the back part probably in another tutorial. So until then, see you soon in Autodesk Maya. Cheers.